Awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started. To kick off our Building the Bridge to Your Future session, I'm actually going to hand it over to a current student, Michael Jean. Thank you so much for joining us today, especially given your active engagement with this awesome Imagine 2021 program. I'll hand it over to you to get started.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Jean. I am a junior at SUNY Oswego, and I'm studying broadcasting and mass communication, and I'm a theater minor here in this campus. Um, I am currently involved as a RA in Oneida Hall. I am a the director of archives for gospel choir, and I was a success coach last semester. And those really helped me out a lot, brought up my development as a person and for my career build for the future. My passions and hobbies include singing, drawing, performing, getting to know people. I like making friends, and just watching TV. That's all I like to do. As for my aspirations in life, I would love to become an educator in the future. That's what I want to do in life. And so far, in the Imagine 2021 session so far, I have learned a lot. And the one program that meant a lot to me was the grad studies program, which was this week. And that really helped me open my mind into what I want to study in the future and where I can go from when I graduate. Our session today is the two final week two session of our 5-week program focused on giving students and the class of 2020 the chance to explore career paths, find jobs, internship opportunities, network with alumni, and more. Check out the website linked in the chat for more details. And don't forget, if you complete 3 items on the weekly checklist and comment on our Instagram post today, you'll be eligible for this week's prize drawing. The direct link to the checklist on the Imagine 2021 website is also in the chat. And now, I am so excited to introduce to you our very own STEM and healthcare career coach, Kristin Mosich. We are extremely thankful Kristin is hosting today's workshop about conducting a skill gap analysis for future careers. And you may be interested in obtaining. As we move through the session today, please feel free to add your questions in the Q&A feature to the chat for links and summary points. And with that, I will turn it over to Christine to kick off our session.
Michael, thank you so much. I'm really thankful that you're able to join us today, and I'm so happy to hear that you attended Tuesday's graduate studies session, and that session was really helpful for you in your future. I personally loved that session. I loved the panel that they did, and I'm, just really happy that it was helpful for you. I hope it was helpful for other students as well. For those of you that maybe missed that session or any of the sessions that we've had so far. As Michael said, we are rounding out week 2. Crazy to think that we are about almost halfway through this program. If you are interested in viewing any of the sessions in the past, you can go to the Imagine 2021 website and view the recordings of each of the sessions. If you don't see this week's sessions included yet, they are taking a little bit of time to upload, but we will have them there as soon as we can. So feel free to check back on the webpage to view those recordings. And if you have any questions about the content, you can always reach out to a career coach or anyone in the career services staff. So we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that attended last night's session, it's going to be very similar in the style and the format. So if you'd like to go ahead now, we're going to use the chat for a variety of different things. If you'd like to go ahead and throw in your class year and your major and one specific occupation title that you're interested in the future. So Michael, you had said that you were interested in being an educator in the future. Have you started to think about what type of educator you'd like to be, whether that's a elementary teacher or a higher education, student affairs professional? Michael, have you really thought about exactly what your, future goals are?
Well, for a long time, I always wanted to become a teacher, and I always wanted to intertwine broadcasting and education together. That was one of my goals. My focus is more children, and I wanted to just become a childhood teacher in the future. That's all I wanted to do.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's great. That information is going to be super helpful for us later, and hopefully for you as our student introducer. Feel free to engage with the session content as well, because I think it'll be helpful for you. But go ahead, any of our attendees or students, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Just major, class year, and maybe an occupation or a career path that you're interested in obtaining or learning more about as you plan for your future. And we'll go ahead and get started. Just a couple logistic things. In the chat, you'll see a couple different links. One of them, as Michael mentioned, is the Imagine 2021 weekly checklists. In the chat, you'll also see the specific link to the Instagram post that we put up today. So if you comment on that Instagram post of the 3 things that you completed from the checklist for this week and tag 3 of your friends, you'll be entered to win our fabulous prizes. Cue the awesome prizes. Students, if you're sleeping, no, just kidding. If you're not paying attention, go ahead and look at the screen now because we've got some awesome prizes up. So definitely go to @HigherOz or the link in the chat. Comment on our post for today, the 3 checklist items that you've completed this week. Tag 3 friends and you'll be entered for our drawing that we will decide on tomorrow. These are some of our awesome prizes that we've given away so far. Last week was our first week, and probably no surprise, the Oswego blankets went the quickest. That's what most students were interested in. You all have hopefully spent a winter at Oswego for our first year students. If not, blankets, anything that will keep you warm, you'll definitely need that. So definitely check that link out in the chat. As we move along tonight too, this will be more of a workshop type session. I'm going to ask you questions and encourage you to engage by putting information in the chat either about yourself or your career goals. This is all, voluntary, but it definitely helps me as I continue with the session. And please feel free to use the Q&A function to ask any questions. I will try and keep an eye on this throughout the session. We will have time at the end for question and answer, but if you have specific questions with content that I'm covering, please feel free to throw those in the Q&A function as well. And last but not least, my co-host Jackie's throwing so many links in the chat. The one that says drive.google.com is a Google Drive document. If you have not clicked on that link yet, please click on that link now, which will take you to a skills gap analysis worksheet. Please don't open it as a Google document and start writing in it because all of you will be working in the same document. Please take that PDF and download it to your own computer or your own desktop, whatever you're using, and save that somewhere in a place that you'll be able to use it in the future. So that skills gap analysis worksheet is something that we're going to be actively using throughout tonight's session. So please feel free to download that now. And thank you to some of the students that threw their information in the chat. We do have a first year student, Tristan. We are thinking of you as you endure your first winter in Oswego. If you haven't already, you might be from there. Definitely feel free to share your comments on our Instagram post as a chance to win a nice thermos to gather or to carry coffee in or a blanket. Ethan, awesome. I think you had attended yesterday as well, same as Tyler. Kenneth, awesome. Seeing a lot of the same names. Welcome back, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you have questions, again, throw them in the Q&A section. For those of you that don't know, my name's Kristin Mosich. I'm one of the assistant directors within the career services team here at Oswego, and I'm also the STEM and healthcare career coach. So I primarily work with students that are interested in joining the STEM and healthcare industries and helping them in any career-related way. So whether that may be helping them explore careers, helping them find opportunities or internships, helping them create custom tailored application materials, job search, grad school, anything that you can think of career-related, I help students that are interested in STEM and healthcare industries. Awesome. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and look at some occupational information. So I had you start to brainstorm already some ideas that you have for occupations that you might be interested in learning more about, or occupations that you know for sure that you would like to obtain in the future. So one thing that we're going to do now is I'm going to actually go ahead and switch my share screen, and we're going to look at a resource that we in career services use pretty often to help students learn a little bit more more about career paths and different occupations. If you haven't heard of ONET online before, it's a really great resource to learn about occupations and future career paths. So I'm gonna go ahead now. You guys can either click on this link or follow this link. It's just ONET without the little asterisk, online.org. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch screens and we're gonna go ahead and look at this resource together. Awesome. All right. Bear with me here. You think I would be a Zoom expert after many, many months of this, but still working on it. All right, awesome. So when you get to ownitonline.org, this is what you should see. So this is the website that has a ton of occupational information. If you haven't utilized this resource before, it's one of my favorites because I think it's the best way to learn about occupations that are out there. One thing to note that I think about a lot is that there are occupations out there that may not exist yet. So when you think of technology and you think of just how quickly our world moves today, there may be opportunities that you may be interested in the future that don't necessarily exist yet, and therefore it's going to be a little bit harder to learn about them. But this is really going to help you focus on some of the resources and occupations that are out there at this current time, and really help you to see what knowledge, skills, and abilities you need in order to succeed in those occupations, as well as how those occupations are growing over time and how they will over the next decade. So a couple different things here. If you have a career that you've been dreaming about since you were a kid, or even just over the last couple of years, if you have a great clear picture of the career that you want, you can go here and you can kind of work with the My Next Move function of ONET Online. If you're interested in taking a little assessment to learn a little bit more about occupations that are best for you and your personalities and your interests, you can go here to this code and you can learn about your specific Holland code. We're not necessarily going to get into what Holland code is and how that works and the occupations associated with your specific Holland code today, but just know that there are self-assessments out there, career assessments that you can take that kind of take in your interests and your passion and your skills, and will give you a list of occupations, not necessarily that you should do, but ones that you should explore to further decide whether you're interested in those. So this resource has a lot of great opportunities that you can take advantage of. If you're a veteran, we do have the My Next Move specifically for veterans that you can use as well. The most important thing that we're going to use today is this quick search bar up here. So for example, we're just going to go ahead and throw in the occupation that you're interested in. So for example, all of you that have put your information in the chat of occupations you might be interested in, please feel free to go ahead now on your own screen and your own website to kind of put the information in here and pull up the occupation list of the things that are specific to you. I'm going to go ahead and put in, you know, an occupation that was dear to my heart and something that I was really interested in from a young age, just to show you how this resource is going to work and how we're going to utilize this resource tonight. So from a very young age, I had exposure to working with children. My mom owns a child care center and works with young children and does a lot of work with the preschool students, getting them ready for kindergarten. I fell in love with education and really wanted to become a childhood education teacher. So we're going to search for teacher. You will see the top 20 occupations that closely match teacher, and then you get to kind of go through and based off of the names, or even if you'd like, you can go in and click on the information. You can kind of read more about each of these occupations. So here you'll see special education, middle school, preschool. I was most interested in elementary school. I majored in childhood education as well as math, because a lot of kids that are that are 5 to 10 years really hate math, and I love math and I think it's fun. I love numbers. So I'm going to click here on elementary school teachers, and then we're going to go to a summary report. This summary report for the occupation that you've chosen, I hope that at this time you're seeing a screen with maybe an occupation that you're really interested in. This is going to give you a ton of information about this occupation, and we're actually going to conduct a job or a skills gap analysis today together to see how closely aligned your skills and qualifications are with the occupations that you're interested in obtaining in the future. So one thing to keep in mind here, these sample of these reported job titles, these can be extremely helpful when it comes to searching for either internships or experiential education opportunities, or even full-time positions in the future. It can be really tricky sometimes to know what exact keywords or what specific titles you should be using when you're searching on Handshake or LinkedIn. So keeping in mind, these job titles right here are sample of reported ones that are used most often when talking about elementary school teachers. So please feel free to use this list in your future with opportunities as well. This information right here is a all-encompassing list of pretty much more than you want to know about a specific occupation. Each one of these underline words or groups of words are a different section in this summary report. So as I click on, work activities here, it's going to throw me down the page to that and to that section and where that information is. If I wanted to go to education, it's going to throw me down to that education section. So feel free to kind of search about this information. We're going to focus on a couple different categories today for this workshop purpose, but please feel free to use this resource in the future to help educate yourself on different occupations that you're interested in, and make an appointment with a career coach to talk about some of the options and to talk about some of the skills that you will need to succeed in this role that you maybe don't have yet. So here, looking at tasks, we're going to focus today on 5 specific ones, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up that sheet that you all downloaded in just a quick second, but I want to show you a quick little tip. So every category is going to list the top 5 of the displayed results. If you wanted to see more, all you have to do is click on this plus sign, and then you're going to get more than just those 5, and you'll get mostly all of the results. And then to see just the top 5, you just click on this negative option here. So if you're really interested in all of the skills that you need in order to succeed in this position, you can click on the plus and it's going to show you all 19 skills. Click on the minus and it'll show you just the top 5. And so now I'm going to go ahead and kind of go back to our worksheet and the PowerPoint presentation to kind of show you what we're going to walk through today. All right, so hopefully at this time you all have downloaded the skills gap analysis activity or the worksheet. We're now going to go ahead and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to work on this. Like I said, this is a workshop, which I get can be a little awkward over a Zoom webinar, but making the most of the opportunity that we have to connect right now, this worksheet is going to help you identify what qualifications you currently have and what qualifications you need in order to be successful in obtaining whatever the occupation is that you're specifically interested in. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and have you guys focus on this first column of information. I want you to go ahead and self-reflect right now on these 5 different categories. So you have technology skills. What technology skills do you have? And what technology or what tools do you know how to use? Obviously, you all probably have at least an introduction to Zoom because you have been using it for some of your classes this past semester. So, Zoom, or maybe there's some Microsoft products that you've used or part of Google Suite. So you can go ahead and list those technology skills. You might also have additional technology skills as well. If you're a computer, science major or software engineering major, you might have some of those specific, design skills or CAD experience. Those skills can also be listed here as well. And then you can kind of break it down into what we call the KSAs, the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities. So thinking about your knowledge, what knowledge do you have? What are you currently studying? Whether that's your major, your second major, if you have 2, your minor, what knowledge do you have just outside of that? Maybe you do some, self-learning, some independent learning. You can go ahead and put that information here and the knowledge. Moving on, skills can be the technical skills that you've included or technology skills, or they might be some of the transferable skills. I see a lot of students joining us again from last night. Some of those skills could be those career readiness competencies that we talked about. So we identified those 8 NACE career competencies yesterday. If you missed that session, you can definitely look at the recording. But some of those included some communication skills, teamwork or collaboration, problem solving skills, leadership skills, all of those types of skills that can be transferable or that may be even position specific to your career and what you'd like to do in the future. You can go ahead and include that information. Abilities, anything else that you feel like that you haven't included under skills, abilities, things that you can do that you think are going to be super important for that occupation in the future. The education, so you're all working at least towards your bachelor's degree. We might have some grad students in here as well that are working towards a master's degree. So listing that education, what you have currently and what you'll have, you know, in a couple years time after graduation. And then this related experience section is really important. So any related experience that you do have, whether that may be a class project, whether that might be an internship, a part-time job, some research with a faculty, club and organization involvement, really anything that you can think of that's related to your future career plans and where you'd like to go, you can go ahead and throw in that section. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you a couple minutes now to work on that. Right now we're focusing strictly on this current U column. You're thinking about these 5 different categories. Are there 5? 6. I say that I love math and then basic number skills. These 6 different categories, and go ahead when you have the opportunity, go ahead and throw at least one of the things that you're including in one of these categories in the chat. So decide on a skill, a knowledge, or an ability, and let us know. Throw in the chat a couple, you know, skills or abilities that you currently have that you're listing on your worksheet. And so I'll go ahead and give you now maybe a minute or 2 to kind of focus in on that column, and then we're going to move on. All right, so just looking back through the comments, you guys go ahead and keep working on this, looking back through the comments. I'm gonna help you out a little bit in thinking about some things. Greg, great to see you again. Software engineering graduate, so thinking about some of those technical skills, you might have, you know, some specific software, some programming language. Those are all gonna be things that you're definitely gonna wanna list on here. Thinking about quality engineering, there might be some additional methodologies that you want to think about, technical writing, there might be some oral communication or written communication that you want to think about as well, including. So just kind of giving you some ideas to get your brain thinking about some skills that you can include on your column. Kenneth, yes, I remember you from yesterday too. Thanks for joining us again. Yes, a French major, interested in being a translator. So obviously some of the skills that you're gonna be listing are your language skills, communication skills, but try and think, you know, more broadly too about any other skills that you have as well. So that might be, you know, general curiosity about the world. I don't know if that's necessarily a skill or maybe an ability or just a unique qualification, but ability to, you know, work with other people, problem solving skills. Those might be some ones that you find helpful that you could include on your column as well. Tyler, great to see you. Glad you joined us tonight. I'm thinking same thing about software quality. There might be some of ones that I kind of mentioned earlier that could be helpful for you as well. Tristan, zoology and veterinarian. There might be some specific biology skills that you have if you've worked in a lab setting before. If not, that's perfectly fine. Maybe you've had related experience as a, you know, a vet tech or a receptionist at an office. If not, that's perfectly fine, but definitely start to brainstorm some of the experiences that you do have. Maybe you've taken a course in the past, whether it was in high school or so far at Oswego, that really allowed you to hone in on your interests in, you know, becoming a veterinarian. In Ethan, meteorology and minor in math, wants to become a meteorologist, awesome. Weather forecaster, thinking about, again, your presentation skills, communication, ability to solve problem, your ability to think on your feet and critically. Those are all some really great ones that you guys can think about including in your column. All right, Ethan, thanks so much for giving us an example. So you said in class we had a group project where you had to create a program to plot different variables on weather maps. Awesome. Perfect. So pulling out some of the skills that you may have there, pulling out some of the different things that you can include from that experience. So you have worked with weather maps before. There might be technology specifically that you've used with that. There might be some knowledge, some techniques in reading weather maps that you want to include in the knowledge section. If it's a group project, you probably have some teamwork and some communication skills that you could also include in that skills section. So definitely start to think about these experiences that you've had and start to break them down into these different categories of technology skills, the knowledge skills, and the abilities. And then obviously your education section is probably going to be only a couple words, whether it's, you know, you have an associate's working towards a bachelor's degree if you already have one and are a graduate joining us, but start to think about that current you column. Now we're going to go ahead and move on. I will tell you, just like last night, if you guys hadn't had the opportunity to completely finish the worksheet, this workshop is designed to help you get started. This is not the time to hopefully have you finish every single thing and polish this document. This is to get you started on this document so that you have an opportunity to continue working on this, either alone with a mentor across campus if you have someone that you're really close with, whether that's an advisor, a faculty member, or someone else, or even with a career coach during an appointment. So don't feel as though you have to rush. We're just kind of getting you started today. Thinking about this, so you should have occupation. There should be a box here in the PDF that you can put in the name of the occupation that you're thinking about or that you are completing this activity for. And then again, you're going to use that ONET resource that we just looked at, and you're going to fill in this section. You're going to fill in this column with the technology skills, the knowledge skills, abilities, the education, and the related experience that we're looking for on that ONET resource. So kind of to go back to that ONET resource, I know I'm sharing and switching screens a lot, but I want to keep y'all engaged and following me. So here we have technology skills. Here we have knowledge. Here we have skills and abilities. You'll skip over some sections. You'll come down here to education, and then a little hint, your related experience is not going to necessarily be its own section here in the summary report in ONET. It is embedded into the job zone, a larger category. So don't miss that when you're filling this in. So here, as a teacher, it's telling you that you're going to need a considerable amount of work-related experience, knowledge, and skills. For an example, an accountant must complete 4 years of college and work for several years in accounting to be considered qualified. Thankfully for me, I attended another SUNY school, SUNY Cortland, a little bit down the road, and I had practicum and student teaching opportunities built right into my program where I was able to gain a lot of that related experience. And so I had that experience going into job searching, and I'll save my story for another day, but decided to go in a completely different area in terms of education and assisting others. But go ahead and take this information, the summary report, from one occupation. You can do this with many occupations. You can go back to the page where you looked at specific occupations, and maybe you want to read through a few of these before you pick the one that you'd like to use in filling out your worksheet. Either way, just make sure that you kind of get to a page eventually and use that page to fill out that second column on the worksheet so that you can start to identify that skills gap. So I'll go ahead and give you a minute or two now, and we are going to continue because we do have a couple of guest speakers that are joining us today, and I'd like to make sure that we have the opportunity for them to speak with you all. But just to kind of recap, you've hopefully started to fill out this current you column with these 6 different categories that are on ONET, and then also filling in this occupation of something that you're really interested in the future as a career path, and then starting to fill in this these columns, these rows as well. You'll see here this yellow caution triangle. I'm so sorry, I get a little click happy. You'll see this yellow caution triangle as your skills gap. This right now, this is an analysis activity that we're doing to identify the skills gap. Once you have all of this, once you have these 2 columns filled in with your worksheet, you'll be able to identify and parallel information next to each other and identify what skills you currently have and what skills you need. So looking at this information, I used event planner. I forgot about this. I wanted to be a wedding planner when I was really little, and then my mother told me I had to work on the weekends and I had to live near a city. and I wasn't interested in that. So learned a little bit more about the occupation and found that it wasn't the best fit for me. And hey, that's part of career development. That's part of exploring careers. But here you can see I've gone through and I've kind of brainstormed the technology skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities, education, and related experience that I had. And then I also went through and copied the information down from ONET. And then you can see here, I went through and just circled. I don't know that you'll be able to do this in your PDF document. You might have to highlight in the PDF, or you might have to print it out, or just kind of take note of those things as well. But looking at this, I did go through and circle some of the qualifications that I saw that were part of that skills gap. So my skills gap included Adobe Creative Cloud. I have not really used Adobe other than using a PDF and using the basic version of Adobe where you can create PDF documents. Other than that, I've not used Publisher, InDesign, or anything like that. Project management software, never really used anything like that. And since the job required it, I had also included that information here. Administration and management, have some more leadership skills and more leadership experience, but I don't really have management experience where I'm expected to manage others. It's more natural leadership roles that I've been in. And then last but not least, making decisions and solving problems. As it relates to planning events, I've never really been put in a situation where I've had to think critically and make a decision that affects the whole, event that's going on or all of the people involved. So I went ahead and circled these 4 knowledge, skills, abilities, and related experiences to identify those are the things that I still needed to have in order to be successful in applying for this occupation. So that was where I identified my skills gap or my qualifications gap. And then I also made this little cheat sheet, I guess, or cheat chart over here for myself as well. So instead of having to look at all of this information, I created a small list for myself of the things that I would like to obtain to make sure that I'm more qualified for the position or the occupation that I am thinking about obtaining in the future. With this how to obtain category or column, we're going to go ahead and leave that blank for now, and we're going to actually go ahead and have a few of our guest speakers join us, and we're going to actually have them talk about some of their different opportunities on campus, and then we'll go ahead and fill this in at the end of our session. So we're going to go ahead and keep going just for the sake of time. Those of you that were with me yesterday, I ran over because I like to talk and I'm really passionate about career education and helping students find opportunities. So if you haven't gotten a chance to finish your worksheet, I promise you the worksheet is going nowhere. You have access to it and we'll have access to it in the future. You also have access to ONET. That won't go anywhere. So you can continue to work on identifying your skills gap or your qualifications gap moving forward. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Michael, and we're going to go ahead and introduce each one of our guest speakers that's going to be joining us.
Thank you so much, Kristin. And I found that the worksheet very helpful, so thank you so much. So now that you have completed your skill gap analysis worksheet and made a list of your qualifications that you still need, we are now going to hear from a few of our amazing campus folks about the opportunities they have available for students to get involved and further the development further develop their skills. Joining us today, we have Kristin Eichhorn, the Dean of Graduate Studies, Kelsey Gillett, one of our Education Abroad specialists, Catherine Farrell, our Coordinator of Community Services, Kashonda Watson, the Assistant Director of Campus Life, and Tina Cooper, our Internship Coordinator. Thank you guys for joining us today.
I'm muted. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for those introductions. If our guest speakers would like to go ahead and turn on their videos, that would be awesome so we can see you all. I will go ahead and I think, Kristin, I think you were first. We'll go right down the line as how I had them in the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen in case you want to, and I'll hand it over to you. Huge thank you to all of you guys for joining us and providing information with our amazing students today.
Well, thanks so much for the introduction, both Kristin and Michael. And welcome everyone. My name is Kristin Eichhorn. I'm the Dean of Graduate Studies, and I'm privileged to talk to you today about research opportunities here at SUNY Oswego. Research opportunities, I feel like when I talk to students, it's one of the most rewarding experiences that they have, particularly on our campus. So I just want to tell you a little bit about, what they are and how to get started, and maybe some support around that if you're interested. The research opportunities here at SUNY Oswego, I think are an excellent way to engage with faculty. So oftentimes students might have their own research questions about things that they want to explore more deeply. And other times students come to faculty and ask faculty questions about research that they're already conducting, and inquiring about how they might get involved in their research portfolios that are existing. Recall that every full-time permanent tenure track faculty member on this campus has research part of their portfolio. So one way to get started, I think, is just to connect with faculty and ask them questions about, what research projects are you working on, and, share some commonalities about things that you might be interested in. You have maybe gotten some clues about that based on taking classes with faculty, and often they integrate their research portfolios into the courses that they're talking about, or will reference it. So it's important for you to share some of your ideas with faculty about topic areas that you're interested in researching, and they can always point you in other directions of other faculty, perhaps down the hallway or across campus, that do research in that area that you might find yourself interested in. So one way to just get started is to talk to faculty about those research areas. I can tell you that when I was an undergraduate, this is how I started, and what can formalize from those informal conversations are a couple things. One is that you could probably propose to a faculty member in their office to do an independent study. And these can be done both at the undergraduate level or the graduate level, where you're working and you devise your own, perhaps maybe 3 credit or 6 credit experience, where you set up a research design, a research study, so that you can start to answer some of the research questions that you have, or maybe it involves you partnering with a faculty member on a research agenda that's already underway. So maybe that means working in their labs or working on a research project well underway. So an independent study is one way, is a credit-bearing way to approach the situation, but we also have opportunities on our campus to serve as an undergraduate research assistant, and sometimes this is could be non-credit bearing. It could be just for the experience. So I think that there's a plethora of opportunities on our campus to kind of get involved, and in addition to that, find support for what it is that you want to do. So say, for example, it's really important for you to get involved with professional organizations. And one way of doing that is presenting at professional conferences. So if you do engage in research with a faculty member, there's different avenues across campus to provide support for you to travel to conferences in a non-COVID environment when there are some travel. So I can put perhaps maybe some links in the chat box of things that you can spend a little bit more time researching. One of them is our RISE program, where we provide travel grants to both undergraduates and graduate students to attend conferences. At the graduate level, through my office, I provide standalone travel grants to conferences in addition to what RISE has here. And then there's also, if you need money to help support research that you're doing, if you need to buy some sort of tools or technology, we do offer student grants that you can either are standalone student grants or faculty collaborative grants. And I'm going to put the link for that also in the chat function. So I think that's just about my time, but I just wanted to say to you that, conducting research with faculty or working side by side with faculty on research is one of these most rewarding experiences where you can, if you're interested in graduate education at all, at the master's level, or if you're thinking about going on to the doctoral level, research is really important to have on your resume. So I knew that right about my junior year in undergrad that I wanted to be a faculty member in higher education. So I walked right down the hallway. I asked a faculty member what kind of research they were doing. I asked how I can get involved. And I was able to do 2 things. 1, be her research assistant and help her gather and analyze data. And number 2, I became an undergraduate teaching assistant. Both of those things, I believe, were the 2 things that helped get me into my graduate program. So having that experience on my resume, being able to talk about that on my graduate applications was Very, very important. So when I talk to undergrads about getting into master's programs, or I talk to master's students about getting into PhD programs, these research opportunities are critical for their success into those avenues. If you have any more questions, my name is Kristin Eichhorn. I'm the Dean of Graduate Studies, and I'd be happy to answer questions over future Zoom calls or over email if you're interested. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Kristin. I really appreciate it. Awesome, and we're gonna go ahead and keep rolling because we got a couple other guest speakers. Kelsey, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great, thanks. I'm gonna try to share my screen quickly. Can you see my presentation?
Yep, can see it, you're good.
Great. So, hi, my name is Kelsey Gillett. I'm a program coordinator in the Study Abroad office and also an alum of SUNY Oswego. I want to just talk to you a little bit about study abroad opportunities that we have and why they're important towards building your career and your resume before you graduate. So, oops, I gotta click, there we go. Just so that you know, things are operating obviously differently right now, but in a normal year, we usually send about 400 SUNY Oswego students abroad on 80 different programs, and they're in 30 different countries. So that's a lot of different choices to find something that will work for you. That makes it about 20% of our students, 1 in 5, who are going abroad. And for reference, the national average tends to be about 10% of students. So we really find it important at Oswego, and we do a really good job at it. And we hope that you'll find something that will work for you. All of these photos are SUNY Oswego students overseas as well. So we have a lot of different types of programs that I've listed here. So the most popular would be our short-term faculty-led programs. You can start doing a faculty-led program within your first year on campus. Other programs, which are a little bit longer, you'd be eligible starting the summer after your first year when you hit sophomore standing. The faculty-led usually involve taking a quarter course on campus, so half of a semester taking a course, and then traveling overseas with your class and your faculty member to really zone in on what you've been focusing on in class. And those vary from being general global cities courses all the way down to being really specific, like wildlife filmmaking courses or research abroad. We have tons of options, and we have options that are up right now that will travel this summer, hopefully. So you can start looking at those if you want. And then of course we have summer, semester, a whole year abroad. You can do your student teaching placements abroad, and we have internships abroad as well. I know right now you might be thinking, okay, great, but we can't go anywhere. We still have options for you to get these skills that study abroad can provide onto your resume and into your repertoire through virtual programs and remote global internships, which might sound a little crazy, but they're actually really neat. They're much more cost effective, as you could imagine, because they don't involve travel at all. And we have a lot of options for you to customize as little as 3 credits of your semester being focused on overseas coursework or a remote internship with a company overseas, up to a whole semester of virtual coursework if you wanted to. I won't go into too much detail because we don't have the time, but you can see on the screen a lot of different benefits from an internship. Just because you can't be on site, you can still gain a lot of those career skills. I was in another one of these sessions earlier in the week where there were recruiters featured talking about what they look for in candidates. One of the biggest skills that all 3 panelists mentioned was adaptability. Easily, that's a skill you're going to pick up with study abroad. Prioritizing the process to study abroad, you always are constantly deciding what is going to take precedent over other decisions, how are you going to organize your schedule, and this is also something you can do through a remote placement. And they also all mentioned having the ability to collaborate and work with others who are different than you are. This is going to give an opportunity for you to work with people overseas who are working in a whole different cultural setup of the workplace. Even if you're working with an office in London or Sydney and they're speaking English to you, you're going to have to learn how they do things differently regardless. So it's a lot to consider. And I know there's a student who mentioned they're a French major, focusing on translation. If it sounds even minimally interesting to you, you should reach out to me because we have placements right now for virtual internships with companies in Paris that we could work on for you. But lots of different options. You can get started as soon as you want. And if you want to, you can follow us, Oswego Abroad, to keep up to date with how things are opening back up and what programs we have throughout the semester to learn more. I'm sure that's my 5 minutes right there. So thank you so much.
Kelsey, thank you so much. That was really great. And I loved how you talked about one of our earlier sessions this week. If you missed the session about what employers really look for in the workforce that Kelsey had mentioned, feel free to check out our recordings. It should be on our website soon. All right, and we're going to keep on moving. We have 2 more guest speakers. Catherine, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. So I'm also going to share my screen with y'all. Okay, so in community service, one of the things that's really great about community service here at Oswego and just community service in general is that everyone can participate, everybody can get involved. So within our programs, we have no major requirements, no GPA restrictions, credit hour restrictions. Anyone and everyone can join any of our programs. Everybody can serve. So what's really great about that is that you can start gaining experience right away from the second that you maybe set foot on campus or started here at SUNY Oswego, all the way through graduation and even after. So that way, when you're looking for that internship or that abroad experience or a grad school research experience or a job, you already have that real world experience. You have something on your resume. So for a lot of students, community services is a really great first step, and then it also follows them through their all 4 years here. So what do we have to actually offer you so you can gain these skills? So I'm going to talk to you really quickly about some of the programs that we usually have. These are typically our in-person programming, which unfortunately we had to cancel or postpone this semester due to COVID restrictions. But these first 3 programs are semester-long programs that help you connect with our local community. So Adopt a Grandparent works with senior citizens, ARC works with adults with disabilities, and Mentor Oswego works with youth in our local schools. No matter what field you're interested in, these kind of relationship people programs are really, really great for a lot of different skills on your resume. They're semester-long programs, so you can join us for the entire semester. That shows a lot of dedication, leadership, time commitment. So having something substantial like this on your resume, instead of just, oh, I cleaned up a park one day, or I volunteered at a food kitchen for 3 hours, this is something substantial that you can really add to your resume that employers will be looking for, especially if you don't have a lot of specific job experience as well. And these programs are really great because we do all the heavy lifting for you. We do transportation, scheduling, connect with the host sites. You just join them and hang out with our folks either once a week or twice a week. 2 other programs that we typically have during non-COVID times is Shining Waters, which is our environmental programming. So if you are interested in anything environmental or wildlife, water related, this could be a really great program for you. And then I play favorites, so Alternative Break is my favorite program. And Alternative Breaks are week-long immersive service experiences where we travel to another city or state or sometimes even another country to do service with a specific organization for that whole week. So again, Alternative Breaks are a really great experience to have on your resume to show employers that you're dedicated and that you are willing to take the time to go someplace else to get these skills and experiences. So what do we have now? We're really focused on virtual service and one-time programming for right now. So what's really great about virtual service that some people might not think of is that it really opens up the possibilities of where you can serve beyond Oswego or beyond your hometown or wherever you are now. So for example, I think someone said that they're a zoology major. So say you're a zoology major and you want some service experience, but you want to go beyond just volunteering at your local animal shelter. Through virtual service, you can connect with professional zoologists who are studying wildlife in Alaska. That's one of the virtual service experiences that you can do. So up here on the screen, I have just 3 of what I think are the best sites to find virtual service. We have Volunteer Match, Points of Light, American Red Cross. I'll put a link in the chat after to a list of a variety of online searches that can help you to connect with great service experiences. So you can check that out either here or on our website. But if you're looking at them and you're saying, wow, there's so much going on, I really need help, reach out to me. And we can have a meeting to kind of help narrow that down, figure out what your goals are, and what kind of service might be good for you. And then the last thing I want to talk about is long-term service or post-graduation service. So service, the skills that you get from it, and hopefully the good that you do, it doesn't have to end after graduation. So we have students and alums who join these professional service organizations all the time, either after graduating or even as a gap year while they're in college. So these programs, you may have heard of some of them: AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, ADELVA, Teach for America, etc. These are really great programs to serve the community, expand your network, live somewhere else, gain valuable experience, and they really are well-known and respected additions to a resume, no matter what field that you're in. So no matter what field you're in, consider service, because you don't have to want to go into nonprofit or public service in order for service to be beneficial to your resume. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee there's a good service experience out there for you to gain skills and for you to have something to add to that resume. It really is something that employers look for. So gain those additional skills outside of the classroom, expand yourself. And if you're looking for help, just reach out to me, reach out to community services, or reach out to Catherine.Farrell at Oswego, and we can kind of help you find what experience might be beneficial to you specifically.
Catherine, thank you so much. That was a wonderful job and an overview of all of the service opportunities that we have, and I really appreciate you joining us. We'll go ahead and keep on going because we have some more. Kashonda, are you with us today? Kashonda, are you there? If so, you possibly might be muted or your video might be off. I can't see you. All right, well, we'll go ahead and keep on going. Tina, we'll go ahead and have you pop on the screen, and we'll go ahead and give you the opportunity to talk about all fun things internships, and we can always pop back to Kashonda. You're muted. Tina, are you there? I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what, I'm linked with my cell phone, so I know it's a little bit different, but all right, let me share my screen here. It looks like you can see that. No, not what I wanted. Bear with me. There we go. All right, everyone. I'm Tina Cooper. I am your internship coordinator at SUNY Oswego. I'm a 2015 alumna of SUNY Oswego from the biochemistry program. I work out of the Excel office, which is experiential courses and engaged learning. On a normal basis, I am in the campus complex for you in 145 Murano Campus Center. If you haven't had the opportunity to visit the campus yet, a lot of our great staffs in the career development realm are over there. So I specifically work on a day-to-day basis with our internship and co-op program. So again, I know you'll hear the name Excel quite a few times. A lot of students hear the name Excel and they automatically think of the Excel office document. We are experiential courses and engaged learning. We do have quite a bit of offerings for you in terms of academic credit towards the experience that's going to help you shape some of the things that are going to really bring out the things that you do want to be doing, or maybe that you didn't think you could be doing with your major as you enter the workforce. So getting started with internships, we do have opportunities for all majors at SUNY Oswego to be participating in internships. Our students are upperclassmen usually that are participating in the internship and co-op program. We do see quite a few internships across all majors. We have, just for example, this semester, we do have quite a few business students earning business credit, even though it's not required for their major. And another example would be all of our students at SUNY Oswego that do have majors that require internship, like health promotion and wellness. Many of our psychology students have either research or internship option. We have chemistry students that have a research or an internship option. We do have other majors on campus as well that do have required internship. So we have different situations across all of the majors. So we do try to cater different opportunities based on your individual needs, as well as the needs that your department sets forth for you. Just a little bit about the program, just some common information that you'll want to know for yourself if you are interested in doing an internship or even a co-op, which is a type of internship during your time at SUNY Oswego. They can be paid or unpaid. Our internship program does span an entire semester. We are able to do internships fall, spring, winter term, which is a very short term, anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, and summer term, which is anywhere from 6 to 14 weeks. We have something called a co-op program. A lot of students don't necessarily know the difference between co-op and internship, and just to give you kind of a bare knowledge of what the big differences are, co-ops have to be paid and they have to be full-time. So essentially you maintain your full-time student status when you go and do a co-op with an employer. You really get a very immersive experience. We generally see these types of opportunities in the STEM fields and also the business fields. They do range anywhere from 12 to 26 weeks. So we have seen students oftentimes that will go from either a January timeframe to an August timeframe or a July timeframe all the way into the new year. There are different prerequisites for each of these types of internships. You should know that you do have to be an upperclassman, so you're able to participate in the internship or co-op program as soon as the summer after your sophomore year, so as soon as you hit your junior status. Also, if you are a transfer student, these do count as upper division credits for you. We do have some transfer students that will come in and not have the 42 upper division credits they need in order to graduate. Internship is a great way to be able to boost those upper division credits to get what you need in order to head on out into that career. So just to kind of get you started with internships, like I said before, we do have them available to all majors. It just kind of depends on the major that you are, determines the type of credit that you get. Always upper division credit. You do have to have a minimum of a 2.5 GPA in order to do that. Junior, senior status, those are the 3 big things, remember, junior, senior status, and the 2.5 GPA. So the process for an internship, a lot of times the first thing that students will think about is searching and applying for the opportunity. It's really important, especially when you're working with the Excel office, that we get you to do a lot of planning ahead of time, because there are timing situations that go into it, as well as our work with employers. Employers do a lot of different things based on the industry that they're in. I know myself, I'm constantly working with the career services staff who also work with employers, because our internship programs do have to meet the timelines that the school has set forth for your different semesters. So making sure that you're planning ahead. The 3 things I just kind of want to go over briefly with you are: before registration, you have to plan ahead, you have to get it locked down, actually search and apply for the internship, and then work with the school to formalize it and get it on record or on the books with us. So planning ahead, I mentioned before, junior, senior status, make sure that you're meeting that. Make sure you're meeting with your primary advisor and or your major advisor. Make sure you're coming and talking with my department in Excel. All of those people should really kind of have an idea that you are wanting to do an internship, because without us knowing that, we aren't able to help you get through the process as swiftly as possible, which is really what we want for you. We don't ever want you to be in any situation of confusion or not talking to the correct people at the right times. So getting that all that information at the start is really important. I did mention the transfers. Just if you are a transfer student, knowing that you do have to complete 1 semester at SUNY Oswego before you do an internship, it's important because you do have to have a SUNY Oswego GPA. Departmental requirements may differ. Some of our departments might have a higher GPA or sometimes even a lower GPA required in order to do an internship. They might also have their timelines. Many of the departments have faculty coordinators that work very closely with the Excel office to make sure that if their sponsoring your internship as a faculty, that their timelines are met as well. And usually they're sooner than ours. So there are a lot of people to be talking to, a lot of things to be planning ahead of time. Getting it locked down, finding the internship, so many resources. The most common question I get from students as internship coordinator is, how do I get one? How do I actually solidify one? Your path to that is going to be so vastly different from everyone else's path to that, and that's okay. There are so many resources that, based on your strengths, based on the way that you feel you are best interacting with other people. We do have job databases, like Handshake is the Higher Ed by Handshake is the university's program that we use for all students to be finding opportunities. We utilize that database, both myself and career services staff, to be working with employers to make sure that they're in there for you. On-campus internship program, one of the big things that students don't know about is many of our campus offices do offer, especially right now, remote virtual internships that are happening usually actually year-round. Many of our staff on the campus are 12-month staff, and they offer internship opportunities fall semester, spring semester, and often summer as well. So myself, utilize me as a resource. Come meet with me. I'm happy to talk to you about internships, happy to talk about the academic process to get registered, happy to talk to you about the different internships that I'm seeing students do. I have my own set of contacts, just like your career coach in career services office has their own set of contacts. We work with them very closely because they are able to help you with not just the search strategy, but helping you to get your resume and cover letter in line before even applying. So make sure you've done that as part of your planning ahead. Also, your faculty coordinators that I've mentioned. Many of the faculty that work with internships know a lot about where their students every single semester are doing those internships, and often making their connections that we all kind of have access to. Just talk to who you're comfortable with, make that relationship very, very important. We have the different opportunities for you to use the different databases, especially the databases that if you are meeting with career services, they will talk to you about. One of the other things that I do want to mention is internships. Just because there is not an internship posting doesn't mean the internship does not or cannot exist. I will be doing a session. Thank you, Career Services, for hosting me in a session later in a different week this month for interning outside the box and learning how to create your own internship. If you want to learn more about how to create your own internship or how to put yourself out there to be doing something that's a little bit different than taking your resume and posting your resume on Indeed.com or through one of these other databases, feel free to join that. It's going to be really important. We're going to get nitty-gritty details on how to do that. So if you want to hear more about internships, this is my information right here. Do follow us on all of our social media as well. One of the things I do want to just kind of part with you, I have students that talk to me every single day about internships, and I have alumni that come back and talk to our institution about hosting interns. And one of the big things that Kristin here is talking to you about today is the skills gap. Every single internship that is credited through SUNY Oswego does have an evaluation for students. The site evaluates the student, and it's something we call skill survey. And skill survey does help close that skills gap and helps you, after you've completed an internship, to understand some of the areas that you might still be lacking in, so you can talk to your career coach, so you can talk to your faculty and close those gaps before you do enter the workforce and before you are applying for that first-time entry-level job. So the things that Kristin is telling you here today, they're very important. So keep an ear on. Thanks, Kristin, for having me.
Thank you so much, Tina. I really appreciate you joining us and talking to us about internships as well as co-ops, information that is
Absolutely.
really important for our students. Awesome. And I think we have one more guest speaker joining us. Kashonda, are you there?
I'm here.
Yay, perfect. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you now to talk to us a little bit about Laker Life clubs and organizations, and just really how students can get involved in campus life.
Okay, so I'm the assistant director of Greek Life. I oversee about 24 organizations. So all the Greek organizations are broken up into categories. So we have organizations that are considered multicultural. We have service organizations. We have national organizations, and we have local organizations. Some of the service organizations are unisex, so it could be male or female in those organizations. They will be having open recruitment in the spring to be considered to be a part of an organization, you have to be at least a second semester freshman with at least a 2.25. A large majority of our organization excel in academics. Their overall GPAs are normally a 3.25 and over. You can meet them at the at the student involvement fair that's going to be happening. That's the best way to connect with them. So you can learn about each organization that you'll be interested in. Also, you can find all clubs and organizations information on Laker Life, what the different interests that you can search by different interests and different activities on Laker Life to find them, as well as the other organizations will be at the student involvement fair as well. Our fraternity and sorority life, they host a lot of philanthropy events. Their new member education process will be virtual. You might get a chance to meet them in person this semester, possibly, fingers crossed. And they host a lot of events virtually. They do community service. They raise a lot of funds for their philanthropy events, and they're really high on academics. And there's also a no hazing policy that we have here at SUNY Oswego. So we educate the students on what hazing is, what not to do, and how to report it. They also do a lot of informational sessions for you to get to know who they are virtually now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for popping on to tell us a little bit about campus life, sororities and fraternities, as well as just general clubs and organizations. Students, I really hope that you've had the opportunity to learn about some really awesome resources because we have, as you can see, a million, okay, maybe not a million, but a large number of opportunities for students. Just wanted to also go ahead and show you a couple more in case that you are not already kind of super impressed by all of the folks that have talked about the opportunities that exist for you on campus. But here we have some other additional resources that you can check out. So Parker Dewey is a micro internship or project-based resource that you can find on the Career Services webpage. You can look into part-time jobs. Kristin mentioned independent study earlier. LinkedIn Learning, you all have access as a current Oswego student to LinkedIn Learning for free. Next week, we're going to be talking all about LinkedIn and how you can utilize LinkedIn. So peep to next week and some LinkedIn Learning and learn more about that. Coursera and edX are also doing some free courses right now throughout the COVID times virtually. So feel free to check out those as well. They're online resources similar to LinkedIn Learning, a little bit different, where they're offering courses for students to learn a little bit more about different subject matter and whatnot. To wrap up our session, I know we're already 11 minutes over, so I'm really going to wrap this up, but I would encourage you now to go back to the chart that you made or the list that you made of the qualifications from your skills gap. So you identified the skills and the qualifications that you may still need in order to be the most qualified candidate submitting your applications for an opportunity and to be super successful in the occupation that you were researching earlier. Now I encourage you to go and fill in this column of how to obtain. So based off the information I just shared with you and our amazing guest speakers that work all across campus, you can go ahead and put in a couple different examples. So here I have at least 2 or 3 ways. So looking at Adobe Creative Suite, I could take a course, you know, take a simple course through Oswego. You could do a course through Coursera. You could do an internship. We hire PR interns that the students are able to use Adobe for some of our projects. You could do another project and get paid for it through Parker Dewey. You could join a student organization. So there are a lot of opportunities available to our students, and it's really up to you guys to be proactive and take advantage of those opportunities to be successful when you leave Oswego with whatever your post-graduation plans are. So please feel free to kind of take a minute after today to fill in your chart or your list, however you have structured it yourself, identifying the qualifications that you still need to obtain and how you're going to obtain those. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Michael. Michael is going to go ahead and wrap us up.
Thank you. I'd like to personally say thank you to all the panelists. I learned a lot from you guys today, so thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you for participating today, and a huge thank you to Kristin. The information you share with us today was invaluable and will be extremely helpful to our students as they plan for their future careers. Join us next week for week 3. Imagine becoming a LinkedIn superhero to learn how to develop your professional online presence and how to rock your profile. The link to this week's session as well as the rest of the program session is included in the chat. We hope to see you soon at another session again. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks so much, Michael, and thank you so much, everyone. I will stick around. I didn't see any questions come through the Q&A or the chat, but if you do have any questions at all, please feel free to throw the questions in the chat, and I'll stay on for a few minutes. For those of you that have to go, I completely understand because I'm 15 minutes over, but hope you found the information helpful, and we look forward to connecting with you at some point in the future as your career services team and as your career coaches. Thanks so much, everyone.